Somewhere in Wyoming, there's an oil well that nobody owns. It stopped producing in 1987. The company that drilled it went bankrupt in 1991. The company that bought its assets went bankrupt in 1998. The company that bought those assets, you see where this is going. The well sits there now, leaking methane into the air and brine into the groundwater. The state wants it plugged. Plugging it properly costs $220,000. The bond the original company posted to guarantee cleanup, $6,000, filed in 1974, never updated. The state pockets the bond, adds the well to a cleanup backlog that stretches 30 years into the future, and starts looking for federal money. Meanwhile, 3 miles away, another company is drilling a new well and posting a $6,000 bond. There are 3 million wells like this in the United States alone. That number doesn't include Canada. Here's how oil wells are supposed to work. A company leases land, drills down, and extracts oil or gas until the reservoir runs dry, or until the economics turn ugly. When the well stops producing, the company is legally required to plug it, cement the borehole, cap the surface, restore the land. This is called decommissioning. It is not cheap. Depending on depth, location, and how long the well has been sitting, plugging costs range from $20,000 to well over $1 million. For offshore wells, you're starting conversations in the tens of millions. The liability is real. It compounds over time, and it doesn't disappear just because the company does. To manage this, every oil-producing state requires companies to post a financial bond before drilling, a guarantee that if the company vanishes, cleanup money exists. Think of it like a damage deposit, except the deposit is set by politicians, lobbied down by industry, and hasn't kept pace with actual costs since roughly the Carter administration. Imagine posting $500 on a property that costs $8,000 to restore. That's roughly the ratio. Now here's the story we tell about abandoned wells. Companies drill, profit, then dodge their responsibilities when the money dries up. Bad actors, regulatory gaps, executives on yachts while methane seeps into someone's well water. The regulators weren't watching. The fines weren't steep enough. And sure, that happens. But that's the wrong frame. Because the executives aren't defeating the system, they're following it exactly as the math requires. An abandoned well isn't the product of corporate villainy, it's the product of corporate arithmetic, and that arithmetic has been quietly, legally, systematically designed for 50 years to make abandonment the rational choice. Call it the liability ladder. Here's how it actually works. When a well gets old, production declining, maintenance costs rising, it becomes what the industry calls a late-life asset. These wells are frequently sold, not abandoned, sold, to a smaller operator who can still squeeze some margin out of a declining well because smaller overhead means smaller break-even. That smaller operator sells to an even smaller one, who sells to a one-man LLC incorporated in Delaware, who files for Chapter 7 bankruptcy when the well stops producing $200 worth of oil per month. The bond gets forfeited to the state. The state, holding $6,000 against a $220,000 cleanup bill, adds the well to a backlog. The well becomes an orphan. This is not a bug. This is the liability ladder working correctly. You and I might ask, why don't states just require bigger bonds? The answer is that they tried. Industry groups respond to every proposed bond increase with the same argument. Higher bonds will push small operators out of the market, reduce domestic production, and kill jobs. It's a credible argument. It is also, not coincidentally, exactly the argument that keeps bond requirements well below the actual cost of cleanup. In Wyoming, the average bond per well sits around $2,000. The average plugging cost is closer to $80,000. That gap, that $78,000 gap multiplied across tens of thousands of orphaned wells, is a subsidy. Not the kind that shows up in a budget, the invisible kind, where the cost is real, but the payer is whoever draws the short straw when the LLC dissolves. The orphaned well isn't an accident of history. It's the predictable output of a system that priced abandonment below cleanup, and then expressed shock, genuine bipartisan shock, when companies abandoned wells. Every well pumping today is a future orphan. The question isn't whether the liability gets transferred to the public, it's when.